I've always followed the dictum, the writing maxim, dictum maxim. That sounds dirty when you start to say it over and over again. Anyway, I've always followed the writing tenet of start as late into the scene as possible for dramatic and tension and pacing purposes. But I think we could take it further. I would say start so late in the scene is already over, everybody's gone home, then you're already done writing and you can go and have cake. Because you should always have a piece of cake in the refrigerator if you're a freelance writer. Do you know cake is tax deductible if you use it for job stress related purposes? It's a fact that I just made up. So, welcome back everybody. This is the second episode of What Are You Working On? The weekly series here on Angry Writer where I ask the seemingly simple yet ultimately complex question, what are you working on? And I tell you what I'm working on, and then you hit the comments and you tell me what you're working on, and I answer any questions you have or help keep you motivated. We're each other's accountability buddies. It's what we're doing here, and it's a good time. I want to thank everybody who watched last week's premiere episode and played along, joined in. I hope you got some value out of that. I want to hear updates on everything everybody told me about last week in the comments, how all of that is going. And if you're just joining us, I want you to tell me what you're working on. So before I get into it today, I want to give a couple of special shout outs. I want to shout out Kelly Horn. Kelly, who attended writing workshops, digital writing workshops that I did years ago, many years back. Kelly is working on getting a novel ready for a Pitch Fest session at the end of April, I believe. Was that correct, Kelly? End of April. Kelly, you can do it. You have the training. You learn from the best. I mean, come on. But no, you can do it, Kelly. I believe in you, and I wanted to shout you out because we go way back, and I want you to do well. I also want to shout out Rena Rockford. Rena is dealing with the implosion of her publisher, which I've been there. I know other authors who've been there. It's always tough when the powers that be collapse under your feet. Not that the powers that be are ever under your feet. They're more like, it's a bad metaphor. But that's a shitty thing to have happen, and I just wanted to shout you out, Rena. You're being proactive, and you're trying to recover, you're getting stuff out there, and that's the best thing to do when something like that happens. When forces beyond your control tank everything you're working on, I always feel like the best thing you can do is be proactive and take control of the things you can control. And what you can always control is what you write. You know, that's what you have total control over, is what you create and then pushing that out into the world. So, Rena, you're being proactive. You're going to recover just fine from that publisher implosion. We all believe in you. And I just wanted to give those shout outs. And of course, shout out to everybody who let me know what they're working on last week. I can't mention you all by name because we'd be here for a long time, but I'm thinking of all of you. So yeah, last week was a grind, man. As you know, if you watched the last episode of What Are You Working On, I have an April 1st deadline for my new book, the second book in the Savage trilogy, the Savage Rebellion series that I'm writing for Saga Press, big epic fantasy series. The first book comes out next year in spring. I'm working on the second book right now. It's due April 1st, and I was grinding last week to get the first section done, because the book is composed of 3 sections, and I explain how I look at it as sort of like writing 3 novellas that sort of form one book, because that helps me structure it. So I knew because middle of February, I knew if I had any hope of hitting April 1st, I had to get the first section done. So I was grinding last week, man. I had big word count days, a couple of those, and my brain felt like runny tapioca pudding by the end of the week. But I did get the first section done. I did it. It happened. I was able to make that happen. So by Friday, I had the first section put away, and I can move on this week to the second section and try to get that banged out in the next few weeks so I can move on to the final section and then be done with the book, which I probably didn't need to explain how the tumblers all fall in that lock, but that's what's going on. So I did hit it. It was tough, and it fried my brain, but I did hit that goal. So go Team Hamshackle. I also knocked off some freelance work. I did a marketing blog post. The project manager that I worked with at my last marketing job last year hooked me up with this gig with a client of hers. Assuming the client likes what I wrote, I can write more and make more money, but I did the first one sort of as a test run, because, you know, clients can be finicky and they want to see what you can do before they give you more work. So I kind of did the test run, I turned that in, I'm waiting for feedback on that and to get paid, because that's what you do when you're a freelancer. You wait for feedback, you wait to get paid, you wait for all the powers that be and the things beyond your control to happen. So I did that as well in the midst of doing everything else. Another kind of cool thing, Stephen Hood hit me up from Storium. Storium is an online kind of freeform storytelling game that's very cool. If you haven't checked that out, please do. Please check out Storium. But I wrote a world for Storium a few years ago, probably more than a few years ago at this point. And for a whole complicated series of reasons, the world never got posted. So, and it's done. It's all done. I did it, but it needed just a few final touches. So Steven from Storium was like, "Hey, man, we should finally finish your Storium world and get it up." So I'm doing a couple final tweaks on that to get it finished so that my Storium world can be up and people can go play it. And basically what it is I've written a world and a bunch of characters and like primers for other people who are playing the game to tell stories based on that world and that character. You know, it's sort of like, think of it like turning fan fiction into an online role-playing game. You know, you get to like take worlds created by really talented, I'm not talking about myself now, but like there are a bunch of other really talented authors who created story and worlds. And you get to go in and you have that primer and you can start telling your own stories with all of these elements and all of these settings and characters. It's really cool. It's a very cool thing. They're actually creating an educational platform based on Storium right now for kids in schools, which I think is fantastic, because I think that kind of game, Storium, can be a fantastic tool for literacy and creativity for kids. So I'm really glad they're doing that. But I'm really excited that like I'll finally have my Storium world out there, and I'll tell you more about that as we go on, but that's just another little thing I'm doing this week on top of everything else. So those are the projects right now. I'm still doing part-time marketing work for Parvis Press, and my wife and I are getting ready to meet with our accountant for tax season. That's always a whole thing when you're a freelancer. And, you know, life is happening around it, but the big things are my April 1st deadline on the new book, because that is a big deal for me. This is going to be a big release for me next year, and I really hope the start of a big novel series for me. So that's the big thing. Tweaking Storium. We'll see if more freelance work happens, and yeah, doing all the things as we can. That's it for this week, everybody. Hit the comments. Let me know what you're working on. I want to know, and I want to help. You got questions. You just need to talk about it. You want to brainstorm. Need some help with motivation. Hit the comments and let me know. If you're new, and if you let me know what you were working on last week, give me the update. I want to hear about it. Let's all reach the finish line together. That's what the show's all about. Please do like, share, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Hit the notification button so you know when new episodes of What Are You Working On come up. Tell a friend. Share it on your social media. Let's get other people involved. Let's get it going here. I want to do that. So all of that stuff, and I will see you next week. Team Hamshackle out.